Okay, guys, let's start. Bismillah. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome back, guys, for another episode of the Unknown Podcast or the Unnamed Podcast.
We had a name now.
A name. Yeah. We have today with us Duale, our co-host.
Hello there. Salamu alaykum.
And then we have our dear brother, Senior SRE, fellow Kubernetes Kubaktel Karbashab, Omar Ali. Welcome, inshallah.
Thank you, guys. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'll be joining you today as the SRE.
Now, mashallah, the brother is your title actually have senior or you just say SRE?
Like I've been in the industry like just 3 years now, so I'm still a media.
Oh, how cool he's a senior SRE, mashallah, the brother.
Senior SRE. So for the people that don't know, SRE stands for Site Reliability Engineer, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
If you could explain a little bit more what you do and how you got into the industry, inshallah, that would be good.
Mashallah, yeah. Like I said, I've originally started like anybody else is in the IT at the very beginning. University. Actually, I graduated in university in software design and networking, which means that I was sort of always into programming, and I had the background in my college as well. So I did a computing in networks in BTech diploma, and at university I did networking and software design. So like you can think of Cisco, the Microsoft. Them days, it was 2003, it was very hot. 2004, so quite old, so you can tell. I was young at that time. And from there on, actually, I graduated in 2007. And straight away, I had a job as first line support. I didn't get straight into the development world because I really enjoyed more of the physical side of things. And after that, actually, the 2008, the crash happened. So the industry, remember, like, it was like this time exactly. So the industry was really tough to get into in any job. So you just have to literally make your way, up and find out. It was really hard for me. So I left IT at that time and then came back in 2012 again as a network engineer. And yeah, from there on, I literally moved my way up in the cloud in around 2017. Worked at TFL. As sort of a cloud support engineer. They were transforming the whole IT. So basically, that's how I got into my first cloud job. And yeah, then I moved.
Sorry, Ahmad. So you said you worked as a network engineer, right?
Yeah.
Period. What made you make the transition from being a network engineer? Because you could have went senior that route, but what made you move from network engineer to sort of where you are now into the cloud world?
Well, but I was thinking first, like with networking, I was really not enjoying it too much in going to physical places, going to libraries to fix stuff. I was working with schools in their networking, and I really found that was something that I really could change. And the money was, to be honest with you, was not really great. I was working into, and I thought, to get into this AWS, to get into the cloud, money was really good, mashallah. And I've found out that also is more enjoyable as well. So you're more from a distance. You don't have to go anywhere, and then you don't have to visit any places. You don't have to touch switches. You touch everything on the console or a terminal.
Yeah.
So yeah, that change happened, and I was really glad that I made that transition at that time.
Amazing, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah. I didn't realize you started the journey that early. I thought you're a bit like me, started in 2010, 2011, 2012, something like that. But you did actually come back to it at 2012. Mashallah. So did you have your schooling? I know that you're from Holland, right?
Yeah.
So you're Dutch. So did you have your schooling in Holland or did you have it in the UK?
My primary school and my secondary school was in Holland.
So you did the GCSE equivalent in Holland, and then you did your college and university here.
Yeah, Birmingham. I lived in Birmingham for about 8 years as well. So.
Oh wow! Okay.
A true nomad.
Birmingham guys are listening. You recognize me from the old ages.
Yeah.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, but the transition was really, for me, it's like anybody else, you know, like the cloud came out very popularly at 2000, let's say 2010.
Yeah.
Really popular, but AWS itself was found out in 2007, if I'm correct, or 2006. They only had one services available at the time, so everybody that started AWS knows this, I think. So it's
Okay,
not.
amazing.
I have to say, I don't remember anything in the early 2010 or the 2011, anything to do with cloud. Even though it was available, it's only the people who don't know that knew about it. Apart from that, most people were still doing on-prem. VMware was really hot, really, really hot VMware.
Yeah.
Your Cisco's, your virtualization. I think what happens is you usually have trailblazers that are like at the cutting edge of technology, and the rest of the people are still doing what was cutting edge a few years ago. So people that are doing like cloud and containerization and Kubernetes and all of that now, people that are trailblazing are probably doing something even crazier, man. They're serverless, all serverless. Even though a lot of people are doing serverless as well, I don't know what else they're doing. We're still in that place that we're still going, oh, what is the most cutting edge? I don't know. Maybe they're building machines in Mars and all sorts of craziness, man. Nah, I think
Anybody's probably what serverless is. It's it's like I was the same. A lot of discussion of what do you mean serverless. Serverless is how is that serverless? Everything works with service. That discussion, anybody knows that it's really big discussion in the world of cloud or in anywhere, you know. So people will say they're open for days. This discussion you can have. I was one of them, but eventually we came to compromise that there is always going to be service, but somehow there is not a service visible to you. So that would be very difficult to explain. But in the middle somewhere there is services, but there is service, but there is a thin line of we're saying show me the server. I cannot show you. If I run, for example, a Lambda, it's an AWS. Anybody that did that understands it. It's called serverless, but deep down there is service underneath it. You know, so it's a huge server to take care of. And Hussein.
The thing is, everything is moving to, I don't want to do it. Let the cloud provider deal with it. That's where the trend is moving to. And a lot of the trend is like, everything happens in cycles. So it used to be like, I want everything to be managed by someone else, and I just take care of my applications. And then people went, no, I want to manage everything, and I'm going to run my workload on-prem and have VMware and all of my private cloud or private hosting solution and run the applications there. But now it's gone back to, I want everything to be run by cloud providers.
Exactly.
You just run your code and your application code on a piece of technology like AWS Lambda, Google Functions, Azure Functions. These are like serverless functions. You give them a piece of code. If it's a Java code, you give them a Java code, Python, JavaScript, whatever you give it to that, and it will take care of all of what service is running on and all of the complexities of what the different libraries are, what modules am I in. To a certain degree, you like libraries and stuff like that, you would import, but complexities of networking and storage, this and that, nothing to do with me. I just care about this piece of code that I've written, make it work, and my application is working.
That's it. Omar, so in this podcast, what we like to do, we like to basically create like a step-by-step process for the viewers, like just to follow on your journey, right? So Hussein, help me out here. What are we trying to do?
So what we're trying to do is basically, if you can give a step-by-step, what was it like? How did you actually break into your first role? How did you get that first role? Let's say, because you've had the start and stop with Thingy. So if you could just give us, once you come back and you started in 2012, what was the initial process of how you break into the industry? How did you get the first role? What was it like?
I broke in 2000. Officially, my first AWS certification, I had it in 2017. My first role in an AWS environment was with a company that was hiring, that was literally doing a sort of service provider, and they put me on TFL. Never taught anything on live. So first time touching an AWS console, there it was there. So yeah, of course I did study a lot of my AWS before I broke into it. So like anybody else that starts anywhere, they need to study what they want to go into it. I'm coming from a traditional background of having IT support, IT networking roles. So it was really, that's my first job. And yeah, becoming there was literally too many restrictions on there. You don't get a lot of access. You have developers that work for TFL that can't have access to things. So you make permissions, you make IAM, you make security, typical first line in AWS world. So you have it on the console, the AWS console that they have there. So they have a lot of data scientist team. They have other partners that work on the console. So the ticket will come in, so you'll create the basic things first for that. And as soon as I realized, this is the job, how the job has been done, the workflow that happens in there, I stayed with them less than a year, about 8 months, I think. I stayed with them. And then when I found out how everything works and get the confidence, because coming from a traditional background to breaking into the cloud is really a different journey. Even if you have an IT background, you're the same as somebody who never had an IT background, to be honest. So you learn the concept. Of course, you have more advantage of having knowing what IP addresses are, knowing what networking is, knowing things of that nature. So yeah, it was like that. So I was really like completely like, I've never worked in Jira. I've never worked before. I did have a ticketing system before, but it wasn't really literally connected to the cloud. It was a simple traditional ticketing that they had in place. So breaking into that, and moved to a role in Holland where they had an AWS partners. The companies had AWS advanced consulting partners, and they were dying in Holland for people like my skills, at least with certification. So I moved there because they needed your certification to be able to say to AWS, we have enough certified people. So I moved to Holland to a nice role, and of course I'm from the country and I speak the language. So I moved back to Holland for the first time again, and this time as a professional who's working in that environment. And then I was exposed to even deeper AWS stuff. So like literally spinning up network by myself. A client go to visit a client who wants to transition to AWS. So that was really exciting for me. You would never have this chance if I stayed in London. I would never get that because it's how networking communities are. They really they ask you for a lot of experiences, because working as a cloud support engineer doesn't make you break into the system. With Holland, all you need is certification and be able to speak the cloud language a little bit and understand it. So was there, visiting to clients. I've not heard of this time. I've not heard even about CI/CD. I've not heard of literally live Jenkins service, things of that nature. So I didn't know anything about that. So I moved to Holland. I was placed into a place. Of course, they gave me the chance to be able to slowly move into that. It was a good journey, and I stayed there for like another year and a half there.
Okay.
Yeah, inshallah. And
that
was really nice. I've stayed with company that initially took me on in Inkido in Utrecht, and that was good. I enjoyed it for a while, but of course, most of my family are still here in UK, so I missed London. I was there almost every other month, and yeah, it was really nice. So I moved when I moved back, then I found up a job in London, which allowed me, to go back into it, and that was again.
That's amazing.
So when you were working for the company in Holland, what period was this? Was this like 2017 still, or like 2018, 2019?
Yeah, that was end of 2000, almost 2018.
Okay, that's when you found the job.
Begin January 2018.
January 2018.
Yeah, January 2018, and I started the role. Yeah, around the New Year of January.
Okay, and you came back 2019. Yeah, like summer 2019 then.
2019, yeah. So when the job that finished, I came back. I started here as my sort of a cloud storage engineer, because to come back here to London, I had to start again from sort of storage cloud engineer. A media company that were looking for, they were working a lot with IBM. So for me, even having never worked with IBM, I started straight away with this media company who were literally transitioning all the media files to a IBM cloud-based. That helping them straight away with a 4 months contract. It was also contract-based.
Okay.
So good, mashallah. That's good.
Sounds amazing. I just wanted to ask one question, Omar, as well. Like, how did you get into these positions? Did you go for a certification path, or did you study for specific tech?
What gave you the edge? Basically, what gave you the edge? Is it because you blagged your way through them, or they had lack of skill in certain areas, and you saw that, okay, this is the market, let me target this kind of skills?
Yeah, well, that's exactly, like, if you think about it now, in the sense of, if somebody wants to break into the IT right now, and they ask you, and they've been, say for example, they've been into an SQL programmer, or Oracle programmer, who are solidly guys that are really good, and they know what their stuff is, but they know only SQL and Oracle stuff, and they want to break it into Kubernetes, for example, in the world of deploying things on GitOps. They don't touch this stuff, but then they never had the kind of the courage or to take the risk to transform their skill sets, and then you need to do that, because I came from a pure networking. You know, I would speak the cloud of a sort of it's the same. It's nothing different, you know. I would speak like that, like them. But yeah, you're a data administrator. You want to break into a new world. You got to be open to a DevOps mindset. DevOps is, I believe, is definitely not a role. It's definitely no a technology. You can't use it, but it's a culture. So you need to be able to switch.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, man, seriously, but a lot of people thinking, you know, like, I feel comfortable where I am, you know. I eat basi bris. I'm not going to eat Malaysian food. You just say, what's wrong with food, you know? Like, try different. Try to explore. You're a database administrator, or you're a hardcore, say, a project manager who knows these keywords and buzzwords, or you're a recruiter like Abdurrahman, I think he's been on this podcast, who knows a lot of these keywords, you know. And you got to think, you know, how am I going to get this? How am I going to get this buzzword and turn them into something really viable for my future, and jump on this train and leave this mindset behind, you know? Because even some coders get left behind. They're very good coders. They're probably one of the best Python coders that I've worked with as well when I was in Holland. I come to them. I'm not a Python coder at all. I've literally never heard of. I've got a software background. Don't get me wrong, but that was a long time ago. You know, I did it by 2000. I graduated 2008, 2004. I did some Java. I did my final year project on PHP for a gym software system. I developed it. I did a nice presentation. You know how the uni goes. And I forgot this stuff, you know. Like I was thinking I'm going to get a job because I'm a very good programmer. It didn't work like that. 2008, the world came to a really bad economy, so people didn't want to hire. So there's so many of them. So you gotta stand out. You know, you gotta come in. You gotta transform, and alhamdulillah.
What would you say to someone who has two scenarios? Someone who has no background in IT, say they work in retail, or they want to do a career transition, and they want to get into your world, AWS, DevOps. What would you advise that person? Where can they start?
Well, it's quite straightforward, bro. Like, they have to be able to say, for example, you're from retail, you've never touched an ID. There are plenty of nowadays online videos you watch, interactive coding skills that you can go on. freecoding.org literally takes you from zero. Somebody who've never heard of HTML, even though I assume my mother in Somalia would probably know what an HTML would be, you know, because you fish the website. But at least you know this is a website, a simple structured website where everybody can go on Iran.com or whatever other news they listen to. they know that stuff. So they will teach you these platforms. They will teach you honestly from zero. Like they will teach you what HTML is, how you open tag, how you close tag. You have a simple, nice app then for yourself, only based on HTML, on a little bit of CSS, which they will teach you from, like they will hold your hand and guide you way through it. And before you know it, you'll be like developing things, you'll add in JavaScript into it. And before that, you'll probably know that you have a calculator and a simple programming. And then from there on, you can get your mind to it. This is a simple app that I've created, but of course, there are other millions apps out there that I can create and become a part of a team and collaborate with them. So slowly get yourself, push yourself to get something done. Start with programming and get yourself a little programming skills, and don't be scared about programming. It's not really something. It's like learning a new language. So when you learn that, slowly get into the other fundamentals of networking. Again, or fundamentals. It's not really rocket science. Like fundamentals. You learn the fundamentals, and slowly, mashallah, you'll get to understand the CI a little bit. So you get to understand a little bit of a Docker. And with the help of Allah, you will get these things, and then you can package them, and you understand this concept. Then slowly you can do the AWS, and then understand what the terminology of serverless, things that they will come together.
Yeah, no, 100%. Hussein, probably a lot of people's mind is overwhelmed right now. Any other thing you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what would you say are some of the core skills for being like a SRE or DevOps engineer? Because I think depending on who you ask, some people will say it's the same role, some people will say it's not.
Yeah.
Very, very good question, Hussein. Well, mashallah, that's a question I would still have very difficult answering it. But again, I think it's the culture. I will repeat the culture, the word. I'll be using it throughout the end of the conversation, I believe. Then again, it is really important to be able to understand that the developer is solely based doing his development. But when he has to package everything, that you've done your part, and then give it to somebody else, a system admin, who has to look after his operation, it becomes operational, right? So as soon as you have a little bit of skills of operational, then you can understand a little bit what developer has done. So you say, developer has given me this package, I need to take care of, and I need to monitor, and slowly then you start learning a bit of programming, and then your operational stuff, your Linux servers, or your Windows servers, things, they will come together, inshallah. So
perfect.
The core fundamentals are understanding that these are culture. Make sure that we are all unity. The developers, operational, to the sales team, to the marketing, and of course not much of marketing you're gonna do, but technology-wise, you've got to be able to work with people, So it's a collaborative world these days. Like,
okay,
it's all about collaboration, right?
Sorry, let me just butt in again. Well, because I'm still digging. What would you say is like core skills for the job that you do now? Yeah, so the SRE. Let's say if I was to join tomorrow, you say, Hussein, focus on these things, and you'll be able to do this job. What would you tell me to focus on?
I every day that I wake up, I definitely have a ticket and a project that I'm working on. There's, for example, this company that I work for currently. We are an accounting firm. They are providers of project management tools. They develop this stuff, and they need an environment. So there's probably something wrong with the environment that they developed on. The development, everything is done on Kubernetes. So everything is running on GKE, something called GKE. It's on a Google platform. So I've never worked much with Google. I came into here thinking, of course, they do, I'm having now almost less than a year experience with Kubernetes. So I've spun up Kubernetes. So I came in there, and everything is run on Terraform. So I'll check the Terraform, if the environment, the resources are really draining. So I'll add more resources. For example, I'll troubleshoot the pod. What's wrong with it? If it's a production issue, of course, I'm more or less not be able to touch it because I'm not too long in the company. So if I break something, of course, the company's service is done. Like, say, for example, you're working you're working in a service that client is really relying on, like end of the year tax return, for example, and then the button is not working, and I've done something on the server that allows you not to. So I did some changes on the environment, and then it's boom. Everybody's who pushed the code? Oh,
you're so right. Boom,
That's what get paid. That's the biggest thing you give yourself with. The process is like, if you touch that, it's a problem. I remember once in my life, only once in our life that we didn't get paid like exactly in the morning for a company. Usually, payday, everybody gets paid on the same time. If you look at midnight, your money's in your account. They change some providers, like they change who their bank, like the bank that does all of the thing. So the chaos that was there, Allah, the CEO, the COO, the directors, emails every few hours, 1 hour. Oh, sorry, we're working on this. Everybody would have the money by the end of the day. Wow, all of this, because bills and stuff are coming out, right?
Oh,
so 3 o'clock, they were shaking in their boots saying, everybody, we'll get the money out from our own accounts and put it in your accounts, type of situation, like from the account into your account. Like, wow, subhanAllah, because payment, imagine thousands of people, man. I think that was at the college. So it must have been like close to 1,000 employees that you have. No one's got paid. That is a big mushkila, man.
That is mushkila, bro.
Yeah. So you've got the power to shut down a whole company by just breaking the Kubernetes cluster. I would use that power, man, and hold them to ransom.
Yeah, the other senior guys with me that have been in the company for like 8 years, 7 years, 3 years. So yeah, I'll actually help a lot of that on development environment and staging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do have some developers that have never been in this culture, so I set them up with the environment and things of that nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
So far I've taken away that I should know Kubernetes, I should know Terraform, and I should be able to troubleshoot to be able to do a SRE job.
That's what I got as well.
Yeah. Anything else?
For example, I've luckily done it. I remember I told you I've done my project on PHP. So PHP is a language that these days not many people are a fan of. So this company still has a lot of solid PHP guys, are really very good PHP stuff that they do very advanced with it. So I can read the PHP, I can see this framework, and of course package it properly using Helm.
Use PHP. I have to say, that's a first. Well, what are they running on PHP? What are they running on PHP? I'm really surprised.
They still, I'm surprised. With PHP, the way they run it is so sufficient that the speed is really fast. It's really healthy for the post that we're running with.
Any language, if you optimize for speed, any language can do whatever it wants to. It's just generally PHP. I assume and I bundle that with like large monolith, like CMSs and things of that nature, like companies that just want pages to be generated and someone is managing their content for them, and it's like a CMS. So you give them the CMS and you build your website on top of that, and you're able to edit it, add pictures and stuff like that. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't heard anybody else use PHP in any other way, man.
No, exactly. This first thing that came to mind when they said we use PHP mainly, I was like, you guys are using Kubernetes on PHP? Man, that is magic, because like you said, PHP is normally something very monolithic, some big legacy application, like you said, a web script, a big old website that sells e-commerce website that really still old school and they're still running. Give me a name, WHM Smith.
I used to, Hog Up was a PHP shop, man. So the company me and Duale used to work together at, they were a PHP shop. Their whole thing for a digital team was they would build clients like Nestle, Rolex, name, bro, any company they used to build for. And all of the websites are built on this CMS called Drupal. Drupal is PHP underneath, and then
is it?
Yeah, it was a PHP. I was like, what? So when you said that came to my mind straight away, man. I'm like, they're building that side? What? Accounting software? What's happening? But yeah, to each their own.
Cool, man. And then I found out it's really microservices. So PHP that they use is really microservices. Every layer service that they make, like a service would probably be a for time tracking that we have, for example, in place. A purchase we have in place. Within purchase, you have so many other services. And they all decoupled. So yeah, it's amazing how they use PHP, and of course PHP is still in the game, man. By that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a lot of learning with PHP, but I'm not focused too much on development, even though I should be. I mentioned culture a lot myself, but yeah, so I try to sort of find out, talk to the developers, say, what's wrong with this? With this memory leaking, your service is leaking too many memories. You pushed this code last week, and I think because of we have a monitoring application called New Relic, I showed them and said this is what's happening, because they have to build this New Relic agent inside their the service as well, so we can monitor.
Okay.
I have to listen to that. It's a sort of a sidecar that they have on there, Fluentd, which I think everybody you will get that understanding. But if you're really from scratch and you came to me, I'll learn you how the Terraform works, how you can do the resources, and make you think of like a system admin. Yourself be also a reliable engineer, because you have to make sure that everything is reliable and it's running.
Okay. That's good.
And Google, by the way, is really big. Once you use the Google Cloud, they're really big fan of that system reliable thing. But they also have DevOps under the hood mindset, so culture, which is. Also, can I ask you a question? What? How would you term it, DevOps?
How would I term DevOps?
Yeah, if somebody asks you, I mentioned, of course, culture is got to be in there, but how would you term DevOps?
Well, exactly what you said. DevOps is not a job. I tell everybody that comes to me, when you see a DevOps engineer, just know that it's an engineer that's mostly going to be operations engineer, infrastructure engineer, that would have like working like a DevOps environment. There is no such thing as a DevOps engineer. An engineer cannot make the company work in DevOps way. Yeah, you cannot change the culture of the country. One engineer. Yeah, neither is there a tool that you can go, I'm going to buy this DevOps tool. There is this DevOps tool that I'm going to buy, and my company is doing DevOps now. It's the whole culture of the company. So you have to work in a way where, firstly, Agile comes into it, where you're going to have teams that work in an Agile manner, teams that are managed cross-functional. So it's not just developers working in a separate silo. When I say silo, in a separate group by themselves, operations people work by themselves, and then they're talking to each other using project managers in the middle. So what you have is like have a team that's made up of project managers, operations engineers, like DevOps engineers, I will call them here, developers, product owners, QA testers, and you work on one specific piece of work as a team, and that's like working in a DevOps agile way. Yeah, that's what I would say. DevOps is not like a red pill that you take and all of a sudden everything is magical. This Western way of saying magical, but in reality there's nothing magical. There's nothing it's not just coming overnight, man. It's a lot of hard work that goes into it. Yeah, collaboration, making sure that you set the expectations right. But mashallah, yeah. But you know, there is, Google has this specific definition for SRE, because everybody else says that we have DevOps engineers. Google are the people that coined this term, site reliability engineering and SRE. And then also this nice meme of, because you know a lot of people confuse DevOps engineers with SREs and all of that. So Google this is Google how they explained it is SREs, site reliability engineers, they implement DevOps. Yeah. So that's in reality, all DevOps engineers generally should be site reliability engineers, or just call them infrastructure engineers, or just call them what their actual title was, and they would implement DevOps. So they would assist in implementing DevOps in the organization. So that was a very good, can't call it meme. They have like a, I don't know, a snippet of something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Share the meme.
Good definition.
It's not a meme. I don't know where I found it, because I was reading the book that they wrote. Google wrote this It was an article to begin with, I think, and then it turned into a book somehow. Site reliability engineering. That's when I was doing my research into it. That's when I found it. I was like, because before that, you're thinking, it seems like you're just changing the titles here. But when they said the way they said it and the way they explained it in the next few lines, I was like, that makes really good sense now, man. That makes really good sense on that. But yeah, that's what I mean. So there you have a lot of companies that take whatever Google doesn't just implement it. So if they call it SRE, we're gonna call it SRE and keep all the same rubbish underneath it. There's people that actually follow the principles. Yeah. Like having SLOs and having error budgets and all of that. You're like, you know, Marlon, this is a good one.
My God.
You know, I was going for a senior DevOps engineer role, yeah. So they said, come to us with a proposal. I said, yeah, okay, no problem. I'll come to you with a proposal. So they said, give us a proposal on how you would deploy. So I said, okay, I gave them two options. I said, we will deploy like this. It's going to be canary manager deployments. We'll release it bit by bit. And da. So I gave them, I did a lot of research on that. I just gave them some fluffy looking, nice looking thing. And then I said, based on that, after that, what we can do is we can start implementing SLOs. And I started using SRE terminology. They go, really? We'll have error budgets and blah, 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 and this and that. I was like, what? Is it? Okay, come for the interview. I said, I turned up. It's like, what was it? It was a company that did, what was the name of the company? I forget. They did voice calling software. So it's like Skype. Yeah. And it's just before, when we were using Zoom and stuff, just before we were using Zoom, it was very much like Zoom. And it was just like in 2018.
Skype? Not Skype?
It was 2019, sorry. It was in 2019. It wasn't Skype. I forget the name of it. I'll find that and I'll let you know later. So basically, I spun them this story. They called me for the interview. I went in the offices. I looked around and they said, okay, now do a presentation for us. So we've got your slide deck that you send us. Go through it. I was like, you get that? They knew. Don't ask you. To be honest, they were kind of clueless. So I could have blacked it, but I just wasn't in the mood of, it was like 6:30. So we're doing this interview after I finish work. 5:30, I'm there. 6 o'clock, we're starting the interview. I'm like, I can't be bothered, man. Blacked it. Blacked so much, and I didn't explain anything. Yeah. And then when they asked me at the end of it, they said, oh, well, by the way, why are you looking to leave your company? I gave them a different answer to what I told them on the phone. So they said,
that's a problem.
We'll call you back. And then they sent the reply back. I said, this guy just put so much stuff in the presentation, but he never actually explained it and how he implemented it. And secondly, he's given us two conflicting reasons for why he's leaving. So, sorry, we're not going to take this forward. I was like, you get that no. Allow me, man. But at that time, I was just, because I already had a job secured, I couldn't be bothered about this. It's like, nah, forget them, man.
Yeah. Now, if you can say that you have experience, for example, with Kubernetes, and of course you can talk about what Kubernetes is, you can black your way through it easily. Now, of course, you need, if you want to get into AWS, you need to know what EC2 is. You need to know what all these S3 definitely, the very basic of AWS. Be able to ask you, can you create an IAM? Same thing with Kubernetes. If you nowadays can explain what services in AWS in Kubernetes, of course, man, you can talk to an engineer, and if I have you over the phone and ask you questions like that, and then you answer them, of course, I'm not going to be tricky with you, but if you say service exposes is almost like a load balancer that talks to outside world or talks to other pods, connects you to that, and you can black your way in, man. And Kubernetes is highly on demand. It's going to be cloud. There's going to be a lot called cloud native. Inshallah, if somebody's interested.
Mashallah. I know we've used Kubernetes a lot and we've talked about Kubernetes. Why don't you give us a little intro into what it is? And you just touch on why is the next why is the next big thing coming? Or why is it here and it's hot right now? I would say the next big thing coming is probably really hot right now. And why people should get into it.
Hey, it's very simple. Kubernetes it's something that you can apply it in different environments, in different clouds. You can move it. It's full of manifest files. It's full of files. It's YAML, full YAML. So there's not too much simple, complicated coding to begin with. Yeah, it's really. I think once you wrap your head around it, what it is, you can easily get the mechanics as well at the end, and you will love it. You enjoy it, you know. So it's.
Omar, can you explain it in a way that you're talking to a non-technical person, if you can?
No, you're asking for too much. There is, because
I'm so sorry, but I just had to.
Because I have to say, Kubernetes, from the way we used to work and what Kubernetes brings, it brings a lot of complexities because it's abstracting a lot of stuff away from you. So explaining it to a non-technical person is like, but there is a very good explanation of it. Let me quickly Google it, what it's called. There is a very good explanation. Kubernetes for kids or something like that. Because there's a guy that did like a video about what Kubernetes does and what Kubernetes is and what it does, using like it's like bedtime story for kids, and he's using like these animal characters. What was it called?
Did I see that one, by the way?
For kids.
Remember I sent you that one? Once.
Was it you? Someone sent it to me. Yeah, it's called
I sent the story.
it's called the Illustrated Guide, the Illustrated Children's Guide to Kubernetes. If someone wants to watch it, type that into YouTube, and the first video that pops up, it will be the one. It's a guy called Matt Butcher. He's the one that came with this concept and explains to someone that's non-technical. He explains that very well. To be honest, I've used this for some of my training. You know, someone that hasn't heard of it, and I said, okay, take this link and see what you understand from it. Then I'm going to curbash you with the actual what it is, man. Yeah, man. But I think you tried to curbash the brother on his first. You want the brother to come back, man.
No,
that's a good question. It was a very good question.
It's a very good question, man. Because to be honest, me and Umar might get carried away. So you reel us in, man. If you're not understanding something you think is a good point to make, do make it, man. So this is like people will benefit.
No, definitely. I think, because sometimes I'm looking at it from the people who are watching it. So it's good to just raise those sort of questions.
Yeah. It's really good, mashallah. That's a good one, man. But yeah.
I remember the best story. I think it's Kubernetes. You would, even earlier, I think we had a joke about. I was in King's Cross Station.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
I was literally I was at King's Cross Station and I saw this, how they used to do the signaling back in the days. I remember like the signaling in the train. Mm-hmm. They used to use a old way of like they grab a handle. And then the signal of the train will change. You know, the train driver will understand, yeah, this is signal, right? And nowadays they do light. They use red light, green light, and then they use some sort of amber, madahan in Dutch.
Yeah. Amber.
So it's you have to have that. You know, like when a container comes on there, somebody has to schedule it. You can also think of a big ship, you know, like a huge ship on a port. You know, like you have to ship something to China, or China ships to us. It has a lot of containers, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's a container? Container. Everybody will. If you see a container, you know what a container is. And you know what a ship is, and everything has to go to at the end to a destination, right?
Yeah.
It has to go to another port. If it leaves at one port, a ship has to go to another port. It's carrying a lot of containers, you know, and then Kubernetes is the ship actually, and the people that put something on the container that work.
I like that. I like that you're explaining that. Sorry, Karen.
Yeah, honestly, if you think of that way, and the captain of the ship has a name in Kubernetes, it's called kubelet. Of course, and then you have so many components and so many aspects that so abstract that Hussein mentioned earlier. It's really difficult to sort of speak very non-technical, but to be able to explain it that way, you need to use analogy like that. So they use that a lot. And there's a guy called Mumshot. It's really, really amazing. Mumshot. Code Cloud. He's got a company called Code Cloud. He explains that so nicely. He guides you, and you become like within a year you can get the certification. If you're really good, you can get it with 3 months. You know, if you had Abdurrahman on this podcast,
if you do what Abdurrahman did, lock yourself for 90 to 100 days. You come out with your head spinning and pods. You would just see pods everywhere, man. Pods, containers, pod containers. To be honest, like a couple of weeks ago, I was in that zone, man. I was just seeing Kubernetes everywhere because I'm setting not setting one. I've set up 3 environments now for the Shakada.
Yeah.
I'm just going in, and because of the way I'm doing it, I have to know the inside out of how EKS works, basically. But I'm doing it in isolation. So yeah, and hatta we don't even have internet gateway. So everything is just breaking, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So you have to research why is this doing this, and you realize, oh, there's a component that these guys have abstracted EKS that needs access to this specific thing because it's actually going to pull a pod down for that. Okay, I need to put this in, and what? Yo, shit, on you.
Like, so yeah, and it's like the ship is the only part, you know. Ship is a way, so ship is not the only part. There's so many others involvement, so many admins that you need to understand. You know, it's the container has to be checked by compliances. It has to go trucks in there, you know. So people have to check it, you know, like real life containers. You know, there's so many. It has to go through the what do you call it? People that check the drugs and stuff like that on
Customs.
On customs, yeah. So you have that as well. You have so many different types. You have people that schedule it, that make sure these containers goes to the right place. There's so many components you have to learn. It's like working. Yeah. And then Docker comes into it as well, and you're like, "What you guys? What are you talking about?"
Yeah. I think explaining why Kubernetes is needed is probably going to clarify why it's so important and why people are running to it. It's basically because everything is moving to containers. When we say containers, the way things used to work was everybody would buy like a physical server, like a big, huge machine with a lot of RAM, a lot of CPU, a lot of hard drive. You put all of your, like let's say Windows operating system on it or Linux operating system, and you put your application in it. Then it moves to virtualization where you buy the same type of box with a lot of RAM, a lot of CPU, a lot of memory, a lot of RAM. I just said RAM, which is memory, CPU, and storage. And then you put virtualization on top of it. And now you can spin up a lot of VMs. Yeah. So now you make better use of the hardware. And now the latest technology is to create containers, which is you abstracting even the operating system. So you don't need to run a hypervisor on it. You just run an OS, and everything sits in the same OS where you have a lot of containers running in it. So now, because that's the latest way of running your application, and it's quick, easy, fast, portable, you need a way to manage all of this, and Kubernetes does that for you. It manages containers. Basically, containers are your applications, and your application nowadays, it used to be one big application. Now it's broken down into smaller applications called microservices.
Yeah.
And then it takes care of the networking between those, how they talk to each other, what has access to what, how they're exposed to the outside world, where they're storing their data, and all of that complexity. When one of that application container dies, how it gets restarted, what's the state, batches, what has it done. Kubernetes takes care of that. You just say deploy to that, and these are my policies and these are my things. Just keep it like this, and Kubernetes does all of the hard lifting. You don't have to go there and go, oh, something died. Allah, something died. I need to restart something. No, Kubernetes does that for you. Something dies automatically. It's a blip on the thingy. Yeah?
They call it self-healing.
Self-healing, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
You know what?
That's really good explanation
as well about Kubernetes, honestly.
Yeah.
Before I even came up, like it was a year and a half ago. Of course, I've heard about the word, but it was when I heard the F7, the F17, the F16, and the F17, we're using it already. Equivalent of the flights, so that you can imagine they don't have access to internet. So like
F17, F16, what's that?
The airplane,
the fighter jets.
The fighter jets, yeah.
What? They have Kubernetes in them?
Yeah, they have Kubernetes in them. They have, man. I could not believe it.
No way.
Seriously, it's because it's the most. If they have it, that I know it's really secure.
that is the actual meaning of cloud native, man.
Yo, I was just
F17, F16.
X16s and the latest fighter, they have it on it, and that's when you know these stuff.
Well, working in the public sector, I realized, trust me, these people, because a lot of good talent exists in the public sector, especially in the UK, and they use a lot of the cutting technology. People just don't know it. Yeah, and some of the stuff that we're doing, I'm not going to obviously share it here.
Yeah,
I work in the public sector. Disclaimer. Some of the stuff we're using,
like you.
it's not being used in the private sector that I used to work in.
Come on here. Come on. That's not great. I was shocked after our life. I was like, yo, I've got to get into this, man. It's really amazing. You know, if they can use it, I don't really care. I'm sure the private sector will love it. And I don't
even private sector, I have to say, once again, I worked for Rolls-Royce.
Yeah.
And they were using it. They were using cutting edge, mate. Cutting edge.
Well, Rolls-Royce?
Rolls-Royce, yeah.
Wow.
They were using cutting edge stuff, man. You're like, when I looked at this stuff and I went there, I was like, oof.
I know Hogarth, yeah?
Obviously, there's even Hogarth, to be honest, Hogarth.
He was on Rolls-Royce and he never talks about what language they program onto, let alone.
No, because
they've got their own language, man.
Yeah, no, you have to realize these big organizations, they have a lot of literally broken down things, like everybody's looking after specifically. There's people that are using like outdated technology, obviously. There's people that will be using outdated technologies, operating systems that have gone out of function, still using like old languages. I forget what it is, Perl, and what's the old one the banks still use?
But they built, that's exactly with Kubernetes, you can build a package for Perl. Perl has been used by the 80s, and you can still use it on a cutting edge platform.
Yeah. You can still put that OS in there, package it, just sit on top of Kubernetes. Kubernetes take care of it. You can get monoliths and put it in Kubernetes, and Kubernetes will take care of it. Kubernetes is very agnostic to who runs inside it. As long as you're running, I'm going to keep feeding you. I'm going to water you.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
It takes us back to the 60s. That sometimes I'm thinking, yo, that's why it's the future. We're going back to the past.
Yeah, no, I see. You know, I see a lot of jobs when I'm looking nowadays. I look at jobs, because I work for Capgemini. They have a lot of like massive firms and all of that with them. That they do work for. And one of the ways of working for Capgemini is that you have to, when you especially if you're not on a project, there's like daily listings of projects that come out. So monthly they would update the projects, weekly they would update the projects, daily they would update the projects, and you just go through, because you're sitting on the bench, you're looking for a role for yourself, anything that you fancy. So you would see like they would tell you this role is available in this location. So I see some of the locations there because people hide who the company is. So I look at those locations and I remember, I'm like, oh, it's for that company. It's for that company. So there's like Knutsford was one of the ones that I remember. It was for Barclays. And obviously, I don't want to work for them. It was for Barclays. And I was going, the other day I saw a role saying Knutsford, we need Kubernetes, we need this, we need that, Terraform, and all of these different technologies. I was like, they're building in-house. They wanted the same thing as, Google Anthos and AWS. What's that, Outpost and stuff.
Okay,
I forget what it was. Was it Anthos or was it?
Like the Duale, you're with us, yeah?
Yeah. I'm with you.
Anthos.
Yeah, you well listen, man. If you don't understand anything, say what are you talking about? Yeah.
No. I'm listening. I'm a bit.
That's what they want. I was like, looking at that, he's going, I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to piece it together.
Yeah. Literally, Anthos and Outpost are nothing else but VMware.
Yeah, so it's hosting Azure or Outpost is AWS. So hosting AWS.
Yeah, that's a virtualization platform for operating systems, isn't it?
You were in a Hogarth, yeah? If you got Outpost here, you get AWS in your rack. So you know the data sets that you used to go to. There'll be a rack that has all of the stuff for AWS. And then when you go to AWS console, you will see Hogarth Data Center 1 as a region. So you go there and you can spin up stuff inside your AWS that you host on your own on-prem place. So that's what Outpost.
Yeah. Guys will go to you. What are you talking about, man? Why are you saying cloud then? Why were you saying cloud? Why were you talking about cloud? We're still a cloud, private cloud then now.
Yeah, no, there's a massive lie
Yeah.
because we have like daily meetings with Microsoft, and they were telling us like there's people that run their own regions. So a government can come and say in the UK we want our own private Azure. So they would say, okay, do you want to build it yourself or do you want it to manage for you? If the government says we'll manage it ourselves, they can just buy all the equipment, all of the software and stuff from Microsoft, and just spin up, and only government workload runs on that. Yeah,
that's what you're gonna do.
Walmart can do that. Any big company, Amazon, if they, obviously Amazon is not going to do it, but let's say Walmart, because Walmart is huge in it. Walmart's across the whole globe. Tesco, because Tesco is in the UK, China, a few other places.
Yeah.
If Tesco wants to do it, they'll do the same thing. Carrefour, which is like a big supermarket in France. If you go to the Middle East, there's a lot of their branches. If they wanted to do that,
I think they do. By the way,
they do. Carrefour does do that.
Yeah, I met a guy in the Slack channel who was advertising his job. I applied once. I approached him directly, and I told him, guys, I see you guys doing a lot with Kubernetes, and he's one of the maintainer. A maintainer basically means that he does. Because remember, Kubernetes is open source.
Oh, he's a Kubernetes maintainer.
Oh, yeah, he's a Kubernetes maintainer, but he works for Carphone. So that's the beauty about it, Kubernetes. The Somali government can say.
What's Kubernetes? Omar, what is that?
The Kubernetes
a maintainer, a Kubernetes maintainer. What's that?
Basically, like if Kubernetes has to be developed, right? It's not going to stay the same, right? Every day there's new changes happening, and the changes people are changing on their free time.
Yeah.
And the guy is taking his free time, and he made it a passion to become a maintainer. And if you have that title, maintainer, you're a big boy, man. Seriously, man. You're the highest guy, and you'll be respected in the community, Kubernetes community. There's like, if you know that stuff, that you're good, man. Even if you can be a contributor, Duale, you don't have to be technical to be a contributor. You can go on their channel and do a little bit of documentation. If your English is really good and you're really passionate about technology, but you're not really too skilled in doing it, you can help them with documentation. You can become a batch holder, become a contributor. You did something on the documentation, the video calls, you're taking care of things for that, and you're helping the admin stuff. You're a contributor. A lot of people don't know that, and then they have a biggest channel.
Yeah. That's solid.
That's the world of open source, man. Any open source software works like that. So all your, let's say, open source Linux distributions, Git, anything, any software which is open source that you download, let's say Prometheus, Nagios, or blah blah blah, they would have like channels that if you know how to code something and you see like, because all of their source code is out in the open because of the Apache license that they follow, the GNU license or whatever open source license that they follow, then you can go there, you see the thing, and if you see a bug in there, you can fix that bug and send them a merge request or pull request. And someone that maintains it will go, oh yeah, this actually fixed the bug, and it does it in the proper way. Except, say like I'm a contributor, or you can say, oh, I want to help you with documentation. What can I do? And you can get contributor as that. So some people actually, that's what the brother is like. The brother is saying that the guy he knows, he's a maintainer, so he's one of the guys that's running. He's thinking about, oh, we're gonna add all of these different. I don't know if it's him, but I don't know what actually maintainers do. But he will be one of the people that will be accepting the changes. Oh, this is a bug, we need to fix it. There's a new piece of code that you guys have for functionality. I'm gonna add it in and I'm gonna review it. Yeah.
Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. Just before this, I had one question for you, Omar, just before we wrap up and stuff. The biggest question is, what advice would you give someone, just generally, who wants to get started in IT, just as a general advice?
Well, from my journey, I would say be definitely someone who wants to learn, eager, have yourself a set of timetables of what you want to achieve. Start somewhere. Literally, if things are too complicated, start something very simple. Start coding HTML. Like I told you, HTML, trust me, anybody should be able to do that with CSS. And then get a little bit of a JavaScript in there. If you're in programming, if you want to get into DevOps, you have to have some programming in your baggage, definitely. And then again, like I mentioned earlier in the conversation, have your fundamentals of IT sharp, because that's what you want. Because you don't want to be going places and I'm not saying if you've never done if you don't know what TCP means, for example, that would be really a problem. So get the core and fundamentals of IT in your baggage, and be very eager and keen to learner. And inshallah, that person will another opportunity will open up for you. And again, if you can get a first line job, don't stick to it. Get further, get more eager to learn the stuff that people are learning, the cutting edge stuff, Of course, like if you're driving a Corsa just of your life, you're like, wow, man, I'm happy with the Corsa. Then of course, stay with your Corsa. But if you want to, inshallah, leave this country or have a very futuristic stuff, learn things, Alhamdulillah. Like there's so many opportunities that you can learn in this. You're in the country where you are. So definitely become an eager learner, man, and follow these Udemy courses. Approach people, like people like us are really willing to help. And reach advice, reach people on LinkedIn. Say to them, how did you get there? Like somebody might not respond, but definitely if you are trying with few people, they will respond. They're obviously not everybody's not going to respond. Not everybody's kind and nice, but there's plenty out there that are nice as well. So like Hussein Amal, this guy will wake up and help you. Allah, he's mashallah. I haven't even mentioned this on this call. Hussein,
I'm still here, bro. Allow me, man.
Yeah, mashallah. Allah, brother, I'm an experienced senior guy, but this guy knows, man. The guy knows his stuff, mashallah. You're surprised, Allah. You're surprised, like how helpful he is, and people like him.
Very, 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 yeah.
So approach people, mashallah. Network with people. I've known Hussein for what now, a year and a half, something. Hussein, or over a year.
I was just thinking about that when you were talking about your job in Holland. I was thinking, when did I meet the brother? Was it 2020? Was it? Well, it wasn't 2020.
It was end of 2019, November 2019.
Was it November?
Yeah, we met November 19, October. Brother called said to you, I've got another brother who's really keen. You want to meet? And I was like, why not, man? Because I was literally eager to learn Kubernetes. So I've had my AWS. I worked in AWS, but I knew I had to learn Kubernetes because I can't reach out to Hussein and other brothers who are really into it. And Hussein was the same thing, he's a keen learner. He will help you with everything, man, from simple GitHub issues to really complex troubleshooting he's never done in his life before. He will help you, you'll get into it. I can't say any more than that, man. He's been a blessing having him as a network.
MashaAllah. Bro, through you, like so many people that I never knew I could meet, man. Yani, Abdurrahman and Muhammad and these guys and Shukri and these men all came through you. MashaAllah, the brother Omar is very good networker. He's good at like speaking to people, getting to know people. Me, I'll be like, oh, I've seen the brother on LinkedIn. 2 days later, I asked the brother, asked him these questions. He's got this, he's got that. And I was like, what? When did you even do this, man? MashaAllah, very open. He got conversations with people. MashaAllah, a lot of people gravitate to him.
Yeah,
exactly. A lot of inspiring people through him, man. Jazakallah khair for like that, man. MashaAllah, good stuff, man. I was gonna ask you, how did you meet Fahad? Because the way I met Fahad was very funny. Did you know him prior to this?
Right. Again, like you said, I'm a networker, and I'm really never ashamed of networking with people, no matter what level they are. If they are a janitor, if they are a CEO of a billion company, to me they're all the same. Well, alhamdulillah, I never distinguish with them. So with Fahad, he was another brother. He was almost similar to me when it comes to networking. He's like, Ahi, come on, like yeah, come. We met him. He's like, yeah, the guy. He's more eager than me. So he will learn everything. Follow me. So Allah, I will do this. I will get it, and he will go for it. So I met him that way through another brother, Somali brothers, I think, and So God then introduced me to say, he's got another 2 networking. We went there. Yeah, alhamdulillah, man. He got his certification as well. Like no time, He studied hard. He became a Python coder, and he's mashallah.
MashaAllah, that's good, Allah. Because he found me on LinkedIn. randomly one day. I
Yeah.
remember that day exactly, man. I was teaching, yeah. It's my first teaching gig ever. I was just having lunch here, and I just saw a LinkedIn message going, Fahad, Bey wants to speak to you. I was like, Assalamu alaikum, salam. He started talking to me. I was like, rah, this brother's very open. I was like, I like it. All right. I started conversating with him. A couple of weeks later, I was meeting you and brothers through him. I was like, rah, what's going on, man?
Yeah.
Mashallah, like you say, like,
Yeah.
it's through him again. When you see somebody striving and you're like, damn, I'm slacking, I need to do something. And you start striving, man.
Yeah, no, I always tell you, man. Potential is
Yeah.
this guy is abundant. Wallah. He will push you as well. You know, like you'll see that Kubernetes was difficult for me at that time. I'm not gonna lie, and it's gonna be difficult for everybody that starts anything. To be honest, even the HTML that I'm making simple, of course, it's going to be difficult in your head. But once you get through it, you become better than me. Wallah, I'm 100% sure. But just keep into it, man.
So I started.
From HTML, you become like from a security guard to HTML. Woo! Allah.
To Golang, you're there, right? Microservices. Next thing we hear, you're maintaining Kubernetes, man.
Yeah. Halal white. That's
You're fully coder.
Yeah, man. Alhamdulillah. But
Inshallah.
mashallah, I wouldn't say that it's a necessity for this role, though.
Yeah.
It's a very good bonus. But alhamdulillah, if you don't know it yet, don't be scared not to apply for DevOps role or SRE roles.
Oh yeah,
maybe SRE, but DevOps roles, man, nah. Just glorified sysadmin.
Even if they say infrastructure engineer,
I call it that as well. Glorified sysadmin, man.
But to be honest, I used to think that, but looking at it, yeah, there's a lot of knowledge that the old school sysadmins don't have, and I've had some interaction with some sysadmins in like different roles and different places, and you look at it and go, if these are the sysadmins that people talk about, then definitely I need my own title, man. I don't want to be lumped in with these people, but if everybody is like me, then we should be like.
I'll give you one of the final examples. I've worked with system engineers right now. A very solid guy with 30 years experience. He knows way better things than me. But when it comes, for example, creating a Kafka topic, I've never done a Kafka, by the way. Yeah, I've heard of a Kafka. I was at this company where I am. I've never done anything with Kafka. I came in, I had to create a topic, and this Kafka is running on Kubernetes. And the whole workflow of creating Kafka was really a bit complicated. But you know what? I took this ticket. It was a difficult ticket, well, I'm not going to lie. And mashallah, you know, I saw myself like creating these topics on Helm, this, that, and I finished. And this guy, he would never touch it. I know that. He would have never touched it. Solid Linux. He knows his stuff inside out. He knows a million things better than me. But if you don't have the courage to touch this and take this ticket and then fix it with the help of course, of the community, Googling, whatever, you know?
Google.
By hook or crook, by Egypt, English.
By hook or by crook.
By the hook, by the crook. So yeah, that's an example. Like this guy was system admin, solid system admin guy, but would never done this on Kubernetes. And then I had to go to Terraform. The Kafka was on there. There's something called Stremisi. It was like you said, glorified. You know, it was. Of course, I feel different when I can do that. He can't. And then next time I go somewhere, I say, I don't know much about Kafka, but I know how to create a topic now on a Kafka. I'm not going to explain what Kafka is, by the way, but it's something I've never known it before, but I did it. You see, it's a very huge, broad topic.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that this role
Required.
lets you do, and this is the kind of thing you should be ready for. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not going to be, you're going to be doing A, B, C, D every day.
Yeah. And you know, a doctor, by the way, you're like, with a doctor, you can't play around with people's heart operations and brain operations, you know?
We have a
environment. We have a playground.
Yeah, it's not as critical, but it's quite critical because you're looking after people's applications, man.
Yeah, but that's production. Yeah, that's life production. Because when I did this, I had the chance to do it locally on my mini cube, maybe.
Okay.
Crash it if I want. And
you're working in this role, yeah. When you're working in this role, you can do like something without touching the production. You can simulate it and do it outside of that and see what catches fire. And then you go, okay, I'm not going to do that because if I do that in the actual live environment, like Google.com, I don't want Google.com to go down. Like Google was down a month ago or something. Remember when Gmail and everything was down for like a hour or something?
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah,
Crazy.
A lot
that
of
would happen.
that day. Where's my YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube, email, everything Google related was down. I looked at it and go, And then half an hour later, people figured out if you do incognito, then it works fine.
What?
Yeah. I was like, what?
I never knew that one.
Yeah, no, because I was following it. Because I used it we used Gmail for something. I remember at that point. So we were using Gmail for something. I was like, And I was watching a video on like something specific. I think I was doing some research and I was watching a video. We would be bam. I was like, huh? What's happening?
I never knew that one.
Yeah, then you go to Twitter, meltdown. Everybody, YouTube is down, Google is down. Allah, the world is coming to an end.
Wallahi, when those two applications, no wonder two apps.
A lot of applications went down as well. Like when last month or the month before that, when AWS, some service in AWS went down. What service was it? Some service went down, and companies were like, third-party companies they used to work with, they said, we use that specific service, so our service is down.
Fiverr, yeah, I remember Fiverr was down. A lot of companies were down, yeah.
Yeah, because of, what was it?
It was a region, I think. It was their EMR, something they did with the EMR.
Yes, I think it was EMR, or it was like a service that sits underneath all other services, like authentication. If there's a problem with authentication, which was the problem with Google, everything else shuts down. Yeah. If there's a problem with storage, everything will shut down. If there's a problem with like keys or something, everything will shut down, like security and stuff. So it was something like pivotal. You're like, not that. And it can take like a couple of hours for it to come back up, man. It can be good or bad at the same time. If you're the business, then you're losing money. If you're the worker, then you're like, alhamdulillah, I don't have to do anything. Things are down. It's out of my control. I'm gonna watch YouTube, but YouTube is not working.
What's something else, man? Yeah. But remember, wallah, jazakallah khairan for coming on. It's been very, very insightful today. Learned a lot from you, so thanks for spending your time here today.
Yeah, jazakallah khair, like we said. Barakallah for coming through, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. Inshallah, we're gonna meet again with Bismillah. You're gonna come on, I know, Bismillah. We're gonna have you again and again, Bismillah.
But bro, keep getting people on that really do the transformation, because with me, of course, I had a background in IT a lot, but with people that really has transformed themselves in this industry very surely, like keep that going, man. Really inspiring.
Inshallah.
And people like me who are senior who can advise you on what route to take, or not even advise you, but sort of show you like this is what I've done, or this is what you can do. And reach out to these people.
MashaAllah.
Definitely.
You need to start a community, man. I was joking with him earlier, saying I'm going to introduce you as a Somali DevOps community champion, which he is, man. You should, because all of these other people have like communities based around AWS, Docker, Kubernetes. I think we could do something like that for ourselves, and Omar can be the CEO for that because he's already doing that. Yeah,
it's true. AWS, your M365, Hussein, yeah? Yeah, don't always say AWS, yeah? Come on, Microsoft Stack team.
Forget Microsoft. They need to sponsor this podcast for me to give them props, man.
I say the Microsoft days are over.
Way over. I'm talking like that about Microsoft days. We work on a show.
See, come on, akhi, man.
Yeah.
Half لعبد Yusuf, yeah? Half and half لعبد Yusuf.
I don't get the joke.
Don't worry about it, it's an old joke, man.
All right, inshallah. On that note, guys, we're going to end off, inshallah. You two can stay on and we can have a quick catch up.
Are you going to do a stop recording? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to say inshallah. Jazakallah khair everyone for joining us. Inshallah, we'll see you next week. Salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaykum assalam. Take care.